Hey guys, Vi here. Today we're going to be looking at the best champions in 7.24b and moving into Season 8. This is the last preseason patch now, and Riot have said the first Season 8 patch will be very small due to the holiday break. So what we have now is basically going to be the Season 8 meta. Since I'm not doing a career video for 7.24b as well, I'm going to start it into this one in case you're interested for each role. Timestamps and a list of champions in the description as always, but let's start with the mid lane today. And remember, these videos are always aimed at regular solo queue games, not the top of the ladder, and preseason has opened up like way more picks that are actually really good. In our top 2 for mid lane, we're going to start with Xerath. Even after the indirect sorcery nerfs, he didn't really get that much worse. There are like a few bad matchups coming up right now, like Katarina and Fizz. They used a bit more, but in general, he's kind of a perfect solo queue champion. You control a game fully. Your poke's insane. It's a little bit awkward to build magic resist right now in the game, so you'll be hurting the entire game as well. He's got super high range. Obviously, you hit people, but they can't return any damage, and you're going to have mana from your passive, so you can constantly do this the entire game. Basically, you're kind of like the ultimate carry champion for now in preseason. You carry bad teammates, you hit a few Qs, and the enemy AD carry is dead if you can hit your ultimate afterwards. Your burst is also insane though. It's not just your poke. You E, W, Q combo, and you're actually not that weak early because of that. Malzahar is not a surprise for our second one. His win rate has actually risen up after the new patch, as if that was possible. Apparently it is. He's quite hard to play against. Your shield can protect you, for which is really important in this meta with damage flying everywhere and crowd control as well. You actually bring crowd control though, which is a very easy way to shut down a lot of the meta picks, and it's the easiest thing to play with. He does pretty well in the lane phase. You can push and control the lane, so early fights you're going to have an impact at least. If we go over to career, the main different two are going to be Katarina and Vlad. So Katarina is actually by far the best mid laner over there at the moment, because games end quicker and she is amazing at snowballing a game out of control. That is the only reason she is not 100% broken right now in Europe and North America and other regions. Is a little harder to end, so others can scale up and kind of overtake her. It's the general meta more than just Katarina being broken, if that makes sense. But if you can get ahead, she's actually really strong for sure. Vladimir is the best at beating Katarina right now, so that is partly going to be why, but actually just insanely strong right now anyway. He starts off pretty decent, but he's going to get better as the game goes on. That's made it even worse, or better, I guess, how you want to look at it, by his summoner spell swapping for better team fights with the ghosts and stuff. We don't see him as much in the other regions, but he's really good. Team fight impact is the main thing. It's so strong. Very hard to play against as well. He gets the lead, he's going to take over, he's going to dive you all game. AD carries are going to be up next, and the first of our top 2 is going to be Ezreal. He's going to start us off here. Even after what I thought were pretty harsh nerfs in 7.24b, he is still doing really well. Only a little bit worse now. The good thing for him is that the nerf made him weaker late game, where he was already kind of weak. Basically, they left the strong part very strong and made the weak part of him weaker. So that is how you beat him. You outscale him. That's pretty hard though when he has so much more gold than you and some serious damage in the lane phase. Now, I'm seeing a lot more people go for Tear into Sheen instead of just rushing a mana immune, which is a lot more poke damage that early into the game. He's very safe, probably the safest AD carry. You can't really focus him down, and he still does a lot of damage from range. Vayne is much better after 7.24b and the Misfortune nerfs as well, which was her worst matchup. Vayne really hates long-range poke damage and burst, and that is exactly what Misfortune does. In a nutshell, basically, I think she will get nerfed eventually. The only thing stopping her right now is her weak early game in comparison to like Ezreal, Misfortune, and Jhin. Past 30 minutes into a game, she's up way past 56% win rates, which is insane, and that's what makes her so strong at the moment. All you have to do is hold on, get 3 items, and you'll stand a very good chance of being able to carry a game. Also, she is good versus Ezreal. Just always has been a good matchup for her, kind of anyway. You can tumble dodge his Qs so he doesn't get Captamancy Gold and just outscale him. Career is the same this time. Ezreal and Vayne are the top 2, but Kalista is only just under them actually. We don't see much Kalista over here, but she is an amazing early game champion right now, and this meta is great for her. You've got aggressive supports and Ignite, making her life much easier to get kills in the lane phase. It's again like Katarina though. It helps the games end faster in career so she doesn't get outscaled as often, if that makes sense. That's the biggest weakness that she has, right? She can't compete with crit champions later, so she has to try and end the game as fast as possible. Luckily, with the new runes, press the attack and stuff, she has more than enough damage to do that, to kill everything if she gets ahead. Now we're going to move on to the jungle. The top 2 for us, starting with Zhao. I hate this champion. Not only does he do a lot of burst damage, but he's also really hard to kill, and this is the most underrated part of his kit at the moment. That ultimate is like an AD carry's worst nightmare. Now sure, if he gets caught, it doesn't really matter, but in a normal team fight, it really does. He can sit in the middle of a fight, and unless the AD carry wants to walk next to him, they cannot touch him. And if they do walk close, he's gonna kill them. He lasts way longer than he should, building so much damage early, but he does kind of need to snowball a little bit. His damage is basically burst for the first half of the game, and that is when he can really 1v9 a game and just truly carry it. He'll eventually kind of struggle to dive in. He can't do as much damage anymore, and he can't really tank properly either, so he's kind of left in the middle. Now, I know I might get flamed for this one a little bit, but seriously, Warwick is actually really good in 7.24b after that patch. He is nuts. He beats Zhao and basically every other jungler at the moment. He's kind of like a different style of carry jungler. Basically, his win rate is best before 35 minutes, like really high. After that, he does drop pretty hard, so you've got to snowball, but before that, he does a lot of damage, he can engage, and he tanks forever. It's really hard to deal with, and in this preseason, it's honestly kind of perfect. You have long range engage for the team, which is sometimes kind of lacking and a big thing right now. Crowd control, extra tankiness, damage, especially with pressy attack, and he can gank and snowball a game. That is kind of honestly the perfect jungler for Season 8 right now, and that is why his win rate is so high. Korea is quite similar, but we have a few others that are different. It focuses on tankiness and engage mostly. Shyvana is a bit of both of these, obviously, but actually the best jungler over there, stat-wise at least. She can solo carry a game pretty easily, gets a lot of damage, and is very hard to kill. Honestly, kind of an AD carry's worst nightmare, and it's actually their job to kill her, and that's a little bit of a problem, to be honest. She only builds by Razor for damage, then throws them out to stick to people and engage better and stuff, and full tank after that, so she can actually frontline and be a threat still. There are a lot of others in Korea, but like Jarvan, Sejuani, Rammus are all at the top of the win rates for now. Those I think are pretty standard. Evelynn though is a bit different and consistently good over there. Not plays as much, about half as much as the others really. The funny thing is though, she can snowball early with her charm and damage. Then mid game she can burst people like crazy, and late game she can still burst people. Her ultimate being an execute and also an escape massively brought her back as a champion, I think. It's actually so good. So moving on to the support role then, we're going to go into aggressive stuff and then more defensive stuff, because there's this massive split at the moment between support. So for our aggressive stuff, we have Leona and Blitzcrank. Leona is a dream to fight with at the moment, and she has a much better, well, kind of more reliable engage actually. Like, she does a lot of damage, so the AD carry doesn't really need to follow up that much, which is pretty ridiculous, honestly. Getting 1v1 by Leona just feels really bad. Blitzcrank is more of a counter support. It's kind of hard to fight other tanks a lot, where Leona actually can, of course, but like Blitzcrank is so good versus mages. Hooks mean a lot more in preseason. Any hook you're going to get probably is a good one, honestly. It almost always guarantees a kill. Very easy as well for the AD carry to follow up on that. It's easier than if you had to dive in with a Leona. For the defensive ones, we have Janna and Taric. Now, Janna is actually very good again because of all the damage flying around right now, but the damage is more engage rather than poke in 7.24b. Well, we have less poke anyway. It means her shields, knockups, and knockbacks are actually better again because of that. We're back to being one of the best teamfight supports really with Janna. Protects the AD carry. We have a lot more crit AD carries and lets them carry. Taric is kind of our middle ground. He can fight, obviously, but he's a teamfight god as well with his ultimate, and he is so tanky that he's really hard to focus. The problem is, though, that he is so good at protecting his AD carry, you can't really focus them either, so what do you really do against that? Honestly, I think his 2 stuns in a team fight are so underrated. It's honestly like a mini Son roll. Korea is very different here, though. Probably the most difference actually full on ham, get kills, end the game as soon as possible. Alistar is the best playmaking support, not only just going aggressive, but making stuff happen around the map as well. His ultimate means he can dive very easily, and he will be roaming mid, top lane, bot lane as well, wherever, ignoring towers and getting even more kills. Korea love Alistar all the time, and he is probably actually the best support there at the moment. Leona is very similar to Alistar, except probably more damage, I think, actually. Really good engage, though. Can run around with Mobies and use ultimate to set up fights. That's kind of how they use her. This is basically what Korea wants, really. Just damage and crowd control to fight all the time. So top lane last. My least favorite role, that's why it's normally last, but at least it kind of looks like more champions are doing better for now. There isn't really a clear, obvious meta at the moment. We have some tanks, a lot of bruisers, other random stuff, and they're all kind of even. Teemo is going to start us off, though. Even after his nerfs, he actually started to rise in win rate again, so I have no idea what that is about. Maybe partly because Pantheon is a really bad matchup for him and he got a lot weaker. In solo queue, though, Teemo can be a real pain to deal with. I like 2 items, his shrooms start to really hurt, and his blind burst is absolutely insane. It kind of feels like this is also partly because we don't have good magic resist options right now, and he builds triple pen. Sorcerer boots, he has sorcerer boots, Leanderies, void stuff as well to really hammer us and just penetrate really hard. I shouldn't have said that. Maokai is still really good though, especially in this meta of damage jungler, but if we move into more like Sejuani Sejuani and Rammus and Warwick and stuff, I don't really know if we need more top lane tanks or if we're going to go back to bruisers. Maokai has a lot of damage early, at least for a tank, I guess. Plus, he just doesn't die. Well, he does die, but by the time he actually dies, by the time you kill him, he would have bought enough time for his whole team to arrive normally, and that's kind of the issue. He lasts a long time. He is a massive front line, and having that in this meta is actually really important for team fights. There are loads of others, as I said, but like Nasus is rising up. Kleptomancy is really good on him, lets him get loads of gold and just pretty much take over a game more than before. Gangplank is another one, back again with his Kleptomancy stacking, and especially in North America, actually, Gangplank is really, really good. So for Korea, we're going to start with Ornn. I didn't talk about him before because he's going to be here, but he doesn't really have a counter. Yasuo maybe, Kled, Illaoi maybe as well, partly why those two are actually so good at the moment, but it's partly why I don't think he's as bad anymore because like Illaoi's rising up so much. His crowd control is really, really good. Even if you bully him, you camp him, whatever, he will still be tanky and he will still be really strong and he'll still massively impact a fight. Most people ban him right now, and I honestly think that's probably the best idea. Illaoi is actually the best top laner in Korea right now, which came out of nowhere. Actually insane how she's risen up with the Kleptomancy build. It gives her so much damage from extra items early into the game, but she is a monster early game, just like kind of others we've talked about. That's the reason she looks so broken there and not over here. Their games end faster, right? Same with Katarina or Kalista. Illaoi is really good at getting ahead, but if you don't end, you might get outscaled. So that is the meta moving into Season 8. Leave a like on the video if you haven't already. Sub as well, why not? But for now, I'll leave you with the robots.